What are some of the most damaging and most negative leadership qualities that you see being exhibited? And I think elucidating that will help people clarify, the opposite as well, hopefully.
Well, in no particular order. The first one that comes up to me is legacy thinking. So we can only do things the way that they are because that's the way they've always been done. And so in my TED Talk, I talked about the QWERTY keyboard just as like an innocuous exercise, this little thing here. For 142 years, we've been typing on a configuration that was designed to be the most complex configuration of this keyboard so that we didn't break it because we were typing so fast, right? Like, how ridiculous is that? Second, I would say beyond that, is just not having, going back to the sort of the circle of concern, it's a bias that there's not enough. And so, as you think about the idea of not enoughness, this is not a new age talk. This is like, there is always a way when everything's on the table. And from a leadership standpoint, what that will sometimes mean is the death of something or someone, figuratively or literally.
What would be, I'd love to hear, yeah, that's a really, really interesting one. That one strikes me. What would be an example potentially of that, either a hypothetical one or one that you've seen?
Look, there are moments we've all had a chance to watch when the peaceful transition of power happens in an organization or a country. I mean, regardless of your politics, we've done that one thing in America fairly well up until the last election. And so it requires me to decide as a leader that the whole is worth more than me as an individual, or back to my beliefs that maybe I have to be willing to kill my identity, my ego, my construct of the way things could be or should be from my vantage point so that they could be something different. Letting go, surrendering. These are more of the feminine, energetic sort of ways of looking at the world. And as men, we don't do this one so well. And I think you're starting to hear it, you're starting to see it, you're starting to see people take care of their employees, or, from a leadership standpoint, we're talking about taking the high road or taking the long view. Those are just notions that feel a little like the platinum rule, right? It's not about treating me like I want to be treated. It's like, how does Rian want to be treated? And as I think about a lot of leadership right now, again, if you're thinking of what was done to me, legacy, what could be done, legacy, or if you're not willing to put it all on the table, what that then creates is an environment where people will, leadership to me is a caught, not taught. So, when you think about I love talking about the flock of starlings that fly in these millions and millions of birds in unison, in formation. How do they do that without a phone, without a Bluetooth, how do they do that? Fluid and flexible. They fly in these crazy formations and they make these crazy sounds. And from what I read is that they basically look at the 6 to 7 birds around them. Monkey see, monkey do. So from a change management perspective, Jim Rohn said it, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. I think we sometimes forget that everything we do is communication. And you're communicating how to be. And, I think another way to think about this is like, it's better to be an example of what you're trying to demonstrate or you're trying to lead from than it is an explanation. Like, let me tell you about it. And I think that we're feeling that, I think, intuitively. And I think you're seeing, some leaders really do what needs to be done sometimes. And that means stepping down, stepping away, letting someone else have the proverbial reins. And I think those are the kind of moments that you wish were in more movies, right? You'd see that sort of hero's journey where, you learn that, it's not just like the story of the Phoenix of burning yourself down to build yourself back up. That's one metaphor of way of looking at it. But for me, it's also it's the scariest thing in the world, which is to let go of what you think is true. And I've had many of those moments in my life, and I'm also in awe of so many leaders who I've watched do this. And I think that type of inspiration is what gives us the fuel, the jet fuel, to make it through those really dark moments of the soul. And you're trying to figure out, who am I and what do I do? And, is there a way through this? And, generally speaking, it is a let going of something and a sitting with, and then trying to figure out what's next, And that's not easy. I'm still working on that one.
If what you've heard on Flow Research Collective Radio has been helpful, please consider doing us a solid and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this. Reviews help us connect to a wider audience so we can get these peak performance principles out to more people.